Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into a super exciting topic, human health. Now, I want you to forget whatever you've read in your boring textbooks, all right? Think of this as the ultimate battle, a battle your body is fighting for you every single second of every single day.
So let me ask you this. What if I told you that right now, inside of you, there is an invisible army? A huge, highly trained force fighting battles for you around the clock 24/7. Well, guess what? You do. And today, we're going to get to know this army.
So here's our battle plan for today's explainer. First, we're going to identify the enemy, what actually makes us sick. Then we'll check out their invasion plans. After that, we'll study our own defenses, your body's fortress, and how you can gain your immunity superpower. And finally, we'll get our mission briefing on how to win the fight. And you know it, how to ace that exam.
Okay, first things first. To win any battle, you have got to know your enemy. And in the fight for our health, the main enemies we face are, of course, diseases.
Now, these enemies fall into two main groups. On one side, we have infectious diseases. Think of things like the flu, cholera, or even tinea, ringworm. These are caused by tiny invaders, and they can spread from one person to another. But on the other hand, you have non-infectious diseases, like diabetes, cancer, or asthma. These are usually caused by our genetics or our lifestyle, and here's the key thing, they cannot be spread. You can't catch diabetes from someone, right?
So, what are these tiny invaders I mentioned? Well, we have a scientific name for them, pathogens. The easiest way to think of them is like the enemy's soldiers. They come in different types, you've got your viruses, bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, but they all have the same mission, to get inside your body and cause trouble.
Okay, so we know who the enemy soldiers are. But how do they invade us? How do they get from one person to the next? To win, we have to understand their invasion plan.
These pathogens are pretty sneaky, and they have four main ways of getting around. They can be airborne, traveling through the air when someone coughs or sneezes. That's how flu and TB spread. They can be waterborne, hiding in contaminated water, which is how you get diseases like cholera. They can also spread through direct contact, like touching someone who has ringworm, or through bodily fluids for something like HIV. And sometimes they use a special transport, which we call a vector.
So what on earth is a vector? It's simple, really. A vector is just an animal that acts as the enemy's secret transport system. It picks up the pathogen from someone who's already sick and then carries it and delivers it to a new, healthy person. Think of annoying animals like mosquitoes, flies, even rats. They are all potential vectors.
Let's use the mosquito as the perfect example. Here's its mission. First, it bites someone who is already sick with, say, dengue fever. The dengue virus then multiplies inside the mosquito's body. Later, when that same mosquito bites you, it injects those pathogens right into your bloodstream. And just like that, transmission complete. The disease has spread.
But okay, enough about the enemy. Let's talk about the good news. Our bodies are not defenseless. Not at all. In fact, your body is like an amazing, super fortified castle, and it has three incredible lines of defense. Let's break down these defenses. The first line of defense is like the castle walls, your skin. It physically blocks most pathogens from even getting in. Now, if a few enemies manage to break through, that's when the second line of defense kicks in, the guards. These are special white blood cells that literally hunt down and eat the invaders, a process called phagocytosis. But if the invasion is too big for the guards to handle, your body calls in the third line, the special forces. This is your immune system, and it creates custom-made weapons to fight a very specific enemy. So what are these special weapons? We call them antibodies, and you can think of them like smart missiles. They are incredible. Each antibody is uniquely designed to lock on to only one type of enemy, which we call an antigen. Once it's locked on, it either destroys the pathogen or marks it so other cells can come and finish the job. It's so precise.
Okay, having a great defense is fantastic. But what if we could train our army to recognize and destroy enemies before they even have a chance to make us sick? Well, we can. This is where we talk about gaining your immunity superpower.
So, what is immunity? Put simply, immunity is your body's memory of past battles. Once your army has fought and defeated a specific pathogen, it remembers it forever. So the next time that same enemy tries to invade, your body is ready. It launches a much faster and stronger counterattack, usually wiping out the pathogen before you even feel a single symptom. How cool is that?
So how do we get this amazing superpower? Well, there are four main ways. Let's look at this table. First, there's active immunity. This is when your own body does the work and makes its own antibodies. You can get this naturally after you recover from a sickness, like chickenpox, or artificially through a vaccine. Then we have passive immunity. This is when you get ready-made antibodies from somewhere else. You get it naturally from your mother through the placenta and breast milk, or artificially through an injection called an antiserum. And here's the really important part to remember. Active immunity is long-lasting, but passive immunity is only temporary.
Now remember those non-infectious diseases we talked about at the start? This is why they are so important. This is a snapshot of Malaysia's health from a few years ago. Look at this. Almost half the adult population had high cholesterol, 30% with high blood pressure. These numbers are a huge wake-up call that the battle for health isn't just about fighting germs, it's also about the lifestyle choices we make every single day.
All right, let's bring it all together. This is your mission briefing. How do we take all this knowledge to win the fight for our health and, just as important for all of you, ace that science exam?
So what are our orders? Well, the best strategy is always prevention. Simple things make a world of difference. Wash your hands properly. Get rid of any stagnant water around your house to stop Aedes mosquitoes from breeding. If there's a flu outbreak, wear a face mask. And please, if a doctor gives you antibiotics, always finish the entire course. These are your best weapons. And now for the exams. Listen up, these are your hot tips. First, you must know the difference between infectious and non-infectious diseases. Second, memorize the 3 lines of defense: the walls, the guards, the special forces. Third, be ready to explain all 4 types of immunity from that table we saw. And finally, you must be able to link specific vectors, like the Aedes mosquito, to the diseases they carry, like dengue. Got it? So, let's end with this final thought. Knowledge is only powerful if you actually use it. After everything we've talked about today, what is the one simple action you are going to take starting today to protect your own health fortress? Really think about it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and stay healthy.